I'm Angelica.
And I'm Mackenzie. And today we're gonna talk about the muscular system in 10 minutes or less.
The muscular system is responsible for the movement of the human body. It is also found inside of the heart, digestive organs, and blood vessels. The muscles have the ability to move the body through the nervous system. Blood vessels and nerves run to every muscle, helping control and regulate each muscle's function.
Four major muscle groups of the body include the muscle of the head and neck, the muscle of the trunk, the muscle of the upper extremity, and the muscle of the lower extremity.
All muscle tissue have four characteristics in common. These are the excitability, contractility, extensibility, and elasticity.
The general functions of the muscular system include movement like voluntary movement of the skeletal muscles,
Control of body opening and passages, such as the ring-like sphincter muscles around the eyelids, pupils, mouth, urethra. Anus usually associated with involuntary internal sphincters.
Posture and stability, which sustain partial contractions at any moment of our muscles, are probably at least partially contracted, resist gravity, prevents unwanted movements.
Communication like our facial expressions, hand gestures, body language, writing, and speech.
Control of body temperature, since muscle comprise 40 to 50% of body mass, and metabolism requires lots of energy, ATP, for movement.
There are three types of muscle tissue. The visceral or the smooth muscle, which is found inside of the organs like stomach, intestines, and blood vessels, is the weakest of all muscle tissues. The visceral muscle makes organs contract to move substances through the organ. It is known as the involuntary muscle, which means that it cannot be directly controlled by the conscious mind. This smooth appearance starkly contrasts with the banded appearance of cardiac and skeletal muscles.
The cardiac muscle tissue is found only in the heart. It is responsible for pumping blood throughout the body. Cardiac muscle tissue cannot be controlled consciously, so it is an involuntary muscle. The cells of the cardiac muscle tissue are striated, which means that they appear to have light and dark when viewed under a light microscope.
The skeletal muscle is the only voluntary muscle tissue in the human body, which means that it is controlled consciously. The function of skeletal muscle is to contract, to move parts of the body closer to the bone that the muscle is attached to. Skeletal muscle cells form when many smaller progenitor cells lump themselves together to form long, straight, and multinucleated fibers.
The following are the levels of organization of the skeletal muscles. We have the muscle, a collection of vesicles, a vesicle, a collection of muscle cells. The muscle cells are fiber collection of myofibrils, plus other cell organelles. Myofibril, a series of sarcomers. The sarcomers, basic unit of muscle structure and function, and the filaments, thick and thin filament.
Most skeletal muscles have names that describe some feature of the muscle. Often several criteria are combined into one name. Associating the muscle's characteristics with its name will help you learn and remember them. The following are some terms relating to muscle features that are used in naming muscles. For size, we have the vastus, which means huge, the maximus, which means large, for the longus, which means long, the minimus, which means small, and the brevis, which means short.
For shape, we have the deltoid, which means triangular, the rhomboid, which is like rhombus, with equal parallel sides, the latimus, which means wide, the teres, which means round, and the trapezus, which is like trapezoid. A four-sided figure with two sides parallel.
For directional fibers, we have the rectus, which means straight, the transverse, which means across, the oblique, which means diagonally, and the orbicularis, which means circular.
For location, the pectoralis, which means the chest, the gluteus, which means the bottom or rump, the bronchi, which means the arm, the supra, which means above, the infra, which means below, sub, which means under or beneath, and the lateralis, which means lateral.
For the number of origins, we have the biceps, which means 2 heads, the triceps, which means 3 heads, and the quadriceps, which means 4 heads.
For origin and insertion, we have the sternocleidomastoid, which means the origin on the sternum and clavicle, or the insertion on the mastoid process. The brachioragialis, which means the origin on the bronchium or arm, or the insertion on the radius.
For action, we have the abductor to abduct a structure, the flexor to flex a structure, the extensor to extend a structure, the levator to lift or elevate a structure, the masseter, and a chewer.
One of the most predominant characteristics of the skeletal muscle tissue is its contractility, and nearly all movement in the body is the result of muscle contraction.
We gotta speed this up! So here are some of the fun facts about the muscular system. Muscles are attached to bones by tendons.
4 functions of muscle construction are movement, posture, joint stability, and heat production.
Each muscle fibers are surrounded by the endomysium. The fibers are collected into bundles covered by perimysium. Many bundles or fasciculi are wrapped together by the epimysium to form a whole muscle.